Have you thought about ancient Rome today? I sure have. In fact, sometimes I talk about Rome so much that my girlfriend says if I don't stop, she's gonna put me in a mask again. I don't like the mask. Okay! There's this idea implicit in Roman history that the Republic and the Empire were mutually exclusive. Right? Like Rome was a republic until Julius Caesar crossed the Delaware, beat the senators in a game of dice, and they got all stabby on him for being too much of a Chad. So Augustus took over and built the empire. While they were a republic, they couldn't be an empire, and they couldn't be an empire until after the republic was dead. But that's wrong. You can be a republic and an empire. All the best usually are. Nobody's buying the rhetoric that just because we have civil liberties and political participation at home that we must be a beacon for freedom and democracy anywhere we send our guns and bombs internationally. You can keep a free society at home and be a brutally oppressive colonial empire abroad. I mean, Great Britain invented parliamentary democracy, and they were the LeBron James of stealing everything within 100 miles of a coastline. U.S. foreign policy has been nothing but the petrodollar since Bretton Woods, and before that it was the Monroe Doctrine. Empire is a matter of foreign policy. Republic is a matter of domestic governance. They've got nothing to do with each other. So this implicit idea that Rome wasn't an empire until it stopped being a republic is kind of strange. I mean, look at this. That's an empire, whether the boys were voting for it or not. That's why we call Augustus an emperor from the moment he took power. It's because what he took control over was already an empire. What if there is a relationship, and the only mistake is in the order of events? What if there's some merit to the idea that imperial domination and republican liberty can't coexist? But instead of the fall of the republic causing the empire to begin, it's the building of the empire that causes the republic to crumble. Unless you were one of the oligarchs in the Senate, not much really changed once Augustus took power. I mean, if you lived outside Italy, the Romans kept taxing and occupying and conscripting you like always. If you lived inside the city, the only change was that the games got better. Even in the halls of power, nobody acknowledged that anything had changed. Augustus never called himself emperor. He was just princeps, first citizen. He succeeded where Caesar failed because he scrupulously maintained all the fictions of the Republic. All those fat old oligarchs still got to play with the toys when it was their turn. So what really changed, and when? I mean, the Republic as a fiction didn't die until the late 3rd century, when Diocletian transformed himself into a god emperor. Was it really liberty and justice for all right up until the moment Pompey uttered those words, "Cease quoting laws to us who have swords"? Of course not. The decline and fall of the Roman Republic began long before 27 BC and lasted until long after. Looking for the moment when this trend to the total consolidation of power began, a lot of people point to the Punic Wars. That was the moment when Rome really stopped being a scrappy republic just trying to survive and truly started projecting their power over the whole known world. After the Second Punic War, Rome began taking hordes of slaves from all of their neighbors. They campaigned constantly. They brought home massive amounts of riches. But these slaves depressed the price of labor for everyone else. There were no jobs left. All these soldiers couldn't come home to maintain their farms anymore, so they had to sell them out into huge estates. Inequality skyrocketed, and eventually the only work was sharecropping on some rich patrician farm, or killing and looting out east. And eventually, when they conquered the east, killing and looting from each other. At the end of the Second World War, the US became the master of the whole world and began projecting our power internationally in defense of our own interests. Maybe that was the pill that poisoned the Republic. Maybe freedom and liberty died a dozen deaths in every Iraq and Nicaragua and Vietnam and Venezuela we ever sent soldiers to. It's not surprising how things are going in 2026. It's in America's DNA. We let ourselves get away with it for long enough in Palestine and prison barbershops. Those chickens were always going to come home to roost. Our presidents have respected the regular transfer of power so far, but they've always been emperors, just waiting for the day they can finally drop the Republican fictions for good.